Hello everyone. I'm going to be making another video, not to review any YouTube videos or anything like that, but to actually help educate everybody on what I have been going through and that this is an actual real thing. And if you compare and contrast my life for the last 2 years that everybody has been criticizing me about for actually telling the truth about what has happened to me, there's actual law being put together because it's so new. And everybody isn't really aware or educated on this electronic torture that some of us have to endure, especially when we come out of communities such as Tybro. They actually publish electronic books. As I was stating, I was like, hey, I'm not really sure how, but this man is electronically controlling everybody in the community, in the solar gazing community, and he's doing a lot of evil with it. And once I read this Electronic Torture Act, you will see, even if you've never even met me, you've just been following my videos on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, you're going to see everything line up to everything, like the psychotic breaks, the outbreaks, the yelling, the screams for help, I'm being electrocuted, my genitals are being assaulted, everything, to them wanting to take my job, my daughter, me screaming about my daughter, a lot of people not believing me, and like everything is gonna link up. But I absolutely hold no anger to anybody. So anyways, this is Mitchell and Kathy Gibson. They are the people who stalk me with this Electronic Torture Act. So when I joined the community, we had to practice something called telepathic hearing. And I was aware that it was computerized. I'm like, hey, this telepathic hearing is computerized. One way or another, I don't know how. I assumed I was chipped. I really don't think that I am. I'm aware now they can do it with technology. They can actually just do it off of your brain wave and your electromagnetic field, which I'll make another video to educate you guys on that and the power of like satellites and electronic stalking or whatever. But right now, let's just focus on him. So him and his wife. He has been a doctor, so he's a board certified forensic psychiatrist. And I'll tell you why that plays a big part into what he does with the brain computer interface system. So the BCI stuff that I'm going to get into. A BCI board. Well, anyway, so he is a board certified forensic psychiatrist, a writer, an artist, a software developer, which is a very big one, the engineering and the software developing, a public speaker, a spiritual teacher. He was a chief resident in psychiatry and received the Albert Einstein Foundation Research Award for his work in sleep disorders and medicine, actually here in Arizona. He's been named the top doctor on several occasions. You will see most of his patients and clientele, even the ones that I have had readings from or whatever, they're all top clientele. So what I'm saying is, this is cheesy, it's the Illuminati. Why would this doctor have anything to do with it? Because he's one of the top psychiatrists out here in Phoenix, Arizona. He's well documented with a lot of celebrities and athletes. Okay. He has also 3 times been named the World Award and whitelisting of the best doctors in America. That's actually a big one. He is a diplomat of the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology. When you have a BCI board, neurology has to be one of your main focus. I'm actually not even that well versed in neurology. You guys, I'm an OB nurse and rehab and med surg. So it's quite coincidental or quite funny that I caught him, but a lot of OB nurses end up catching other healthcare professionals that abuse stuff that they're not supposed to be doing. But another important thing, you guys, when I go through all of this, is that the American College of Forensic Medicine, he's a diplomat of the American College of Forensic Medicine and a member of the Board of Forensic Examiners. Why is that important? Because he has studied dead bodies for over 10 years, and he is well versed in neurology, so he knows how to control this BCI board, this little, well, it's not little, it's a brain-based computer system that I'm aware is connected to not just Google, it's connected to the dark web, so it's not even your basic computer, it's actually a quantum computer, which makes it a lot more dangerous. But and I'll have to explain the technology another day. But anyways, so that's just the background on him. His wife was a business major. She pretends in her write and in her storyline and the products that she sells that she's a nurse. I looked her up, Kathy Gibson, in all 50 states. She's not a nurse, she never has been, but they needed to lie and say that because she is what we call in this community handlers. She's a governess, she has the whip. We're called, when we actually get a BCI board, depending on who we're in charge of and stuff like that, when we go undercover or whatever, at the end of the day, we control people. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to take any part in what they had to offer. I didn't want to take part in controlling individuals, and I didn't want to take part in rape and all the other stuff that they do. It's so perverted. What they do is, I was so disgusted. I was literally, as you guys see, I was like, I'd rather go look crazy and lose everything just so that I could come back and help people or protect people, because I'm like, hey, what's coming down the line? I was like, I absolutely can never agree with that agenda, especially the agenda to control people and control your children and not let your children thrive and become who they're supposed to be. You know, to start, you know, doing harm, doing bad things in the world. And to me, actually, everything this man has ever done, his whole books, I was like, basically, they've been a waste of time. At the end of all these levels and the higher consciousness and his meditation, the only place you're going to end up is in a sex room. So I was like, so this is the end? Like, you've had all of this knowledge, all of this stuff that you've been able to do to help people, and basically what you did was you gamed people into believing you were a spiritual master when you were using technology the whole time. You hurt a lot of people. You've taken years and years of lives. He's put a lot of people in psych wards. I'll get to that in a minute. He's a psychiatrist. It's a lot of reverse mastermind manipulation that he's done to a lot of people. I'm aware that some of the people in this community thought that I was going to be the next Kathy Gibson or the next Archaea. That's what they were promised. That's not going to happen, because I'm not anything like that woman. I absolutely despise, I can't stand anything that that woman has created, any program she has put in you guys, anything like that. Any jab or any smart comment that I've ever made. I love everybody, even the celebrities, rich, poor, young, old. I don't really race whatever. I really don't view people like that. Even with the disgusting stuff that I've said in regards to this woman, is because I don't view her as a human. She's completely inhumane. And the fact that she thought she was going to coach me or polish me or train me to be her, all psychotic at 60 years old, chasing, digging. She likes human fecal matter. It's disgusting. I'm so embarrassed and uncomfortable to even talk about all of the disgusting stuff that this woman is addicted to through this BCI and what she does. A lot of people are uncomfortable because she's a very big pedophile, and most people are used to hearing about pedophiles being a man, a rapist being a man. She even had a time, she's like, it's me. I'm the rapist, I'm the pedophile, I'm what they call the coacher in the community. She's like, I'm the coacher. Her husband is just as disgusting as him, or as her, but she's the actual coacher and she's played basketball, whatever. I cannot stand this woman. Literally, I despise this woman so much. I literally, like when I say de-shield people or whatever, I'm not trying to be a smart ass or whatever. I don't even know how to change a dang tire, to be honest with you. I don't even know how to change a dang tire. But I was like so heavy in my research. I was like, what people didn't realize is I was like, hey, I'm aware that this is the multiverse. I was like, so how's the multiverse built? I was like, I just got to do one big blow. What is your guys' infrastructure? How is it built? How do you detect the light? I was like, I'm aware. I'm underneath a different pressurized field with this barometric pressure. What you guys will come to find when I read through this, some of the verbiage, how they have to start checking some of us for chips and all of that stuff, is because there are people who are chipped. Him and his wife are chipped. They're not extra smart. They're not any of that stuff. He's born a human. He went to do some experimental programs. I'll get to that later, but yeah, so he's somebody that's chipped. I honestly don't think that I am. What I am is wired. So basically, they do it through my brainwave and through the waves off of my body with this technology. They can control us that way. I recently come to find out that I actually may have been wired for quite some time, but I was never tampered with. As far as they call it, so I'm like 50% activated with this, with this stuff. they're doing a process called neural censoring, and they're like turning on my sensors, like trying to get me engaged in more of the sex or whatever, which it's not the end of the world. You know, they're gross with it. It's not, like I said, I'm sure in the future a lot of people are going to be having, I'm just going to call it neural sex, electronic sex, hologram sex, whatever you want to call it. As long as it's consensual or whatever like that. I really don't see the big deal. I don't see the big deal as long as you know who's doing it, whatever. But when you don't want it, or especially by like two people like that, I was like, it's literally driven me to the point of like literally looking at how to bend like scalar waves, sonar hearing, lower decimal hearing. How does the brain process hearing? Because I hate the audio stuff. I'll explain that later. But basically everything that I've been saying, I was like, it's not telepathic communication, it's technology. I was like, it's advanced technology, and I was like, they've widened our hearing span. We're getting hit with I'm getting electrocuted. I was like, it's an electrical impulse. I'm getting like my ears ring. I was like, that's the higher one. The lower one is when they talk. What the weaponry is actually very dangerous. She can give you cancer. They can include your throat. They can fully rape us. When you're underneath a different field of pressure or whatever like that, they can start manipulating reality, and not only your reality with the eyes or whatever, but what they can also do is manipulate sound and light. So it can become very dangerous. When they hit us with it, it's like osculating. It can be like bone pain. They can like literally jab it at your leg or your knee. It's very, they can set us on fire. They can beat the crap out of us in ways you couldn't even believe. They can force you to use the restroom on yourself. They can force disgusting smells out of you. I was like, oh my God. They can do all kinds of stupid stuff. But anyways, so this electronic rape that I found, it's called the Electronic Torture Act, and I found it in Nevada. It's actually something that they're trying to put together in Nevada, and I find it interesting that they chose Nevada because that's where prostitution is legal, and what we experience is an electronic rape. Most of those women are women who are never believed, especially if they work in the sex industry, if they're a porn star, or if they're out there escorting or whatever like that, they're a stripper. It's legal out there, so this is more easier for them to kind of implant on or kind of stalk or want to stalk, since they're so pretty. A lot of them are very beautiful. It's like Hollywood, and a lot of those women are like, hey, I'm not really religious or anything like that. So because they're shunned down apart, they kind of go visit like ashrams, Buddhism. They're like, I'm more spiritual. I'm going and I'm doing psychedelics. I'm testing ayahuasca. I'm doing mushrooms. I'm very like in my place, Well, what they don't realize is when you do that, some of these guys already have this electromagnetic field so mapped out that they already have infiltrated the spiritual and psychedelic community to make it appear like we're having a psychedelic experience, but really we're actually being programmed. I can't even say programmed. I guess what I would call tampered with, because they can go and come or whatever. But anyways, so to get started, the Electronic Torture Act. A corrupt organization centrally coordinates an abundant crimes against individuals knowing and willingly coercive conduct that inflicts extreme inhumane pain and suffering on the person by impetuously and covertly inflicting grave bodily injury for the rest of the victim. These injuries are mostly imperceptible, so you guys can't see them, but we see them and we feel it, but you guys don't. And the only reason why is because you guys haven't had your eyes turned on and you haven't been underneath this different barometric field of pressure, which I haven't done. I'm sure if I do the research, it's either coming from a phone or a satellite or something. I don't know. All I know is it's actually actually pretty easily done once you kind of get past that. But anyways, okay, and often seem to have naturally occurred and perpetrated in such a sophisticated and malicious method as to render the victim's torture complaint perceived as delusional or paranoid. They're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me. I'm getting electrocuted. I'm like, that's basically everything. They're like, you're paranoid. Everybody's like, you need to go see the psychiatrist. Blah, 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 blah. That's not real, Chelsea. We're watching you lose your mind. It's actually part of what they do. So prior to the enactment of this chapter, the police and federal agencies have instantaneously dismissed the victim's complaint, presumptions that the victims are delusional or paranoid, and are mistakenly detaining the victims in psychiatric institutions for observations. Electronic torturing has a major influence on the individual's health. It can cause memory loss, which transforms into early Alzheimer's and attributes to cell damage of the brain. It can cause rape of an individual's sleep deprivation. All I ever talked about was never being able to sleep in my nightmares, which I'll get to in a minute. My nightmares, cytosis of the eyelids. The reason why is because our eyes are actually being controlled, and we're getting hit with, I think it's near infrared light or whatever, the beam, and then when it hits us, it controls our pineal gland, and we're able to like project different visions and stuff like that. The same way that they say, oh, your pineal gland is activated when you take mushrooms or when you do ayahuasca, and they're like, oh, we're seeing all three-dimensional. Well, they can also do that same, well, mimic that same experience with a very sophisticated light. Tremors, seizures, radiation, which can cause cancer, destroy the human tissue. So the radiation, the light, and the sound that they use can actually cause cancer. She calls it a cancer marker, and they can turn on our cancer genes. She's actually probably turned on several cancer genes, which I'll get to that in a minute. Heart attacks, they literally can mess with our heart, throw us into AFib. I've had my heart stopped before. Depression, mania, anxiety, phobia, ear damage. They ring our ears so hard you would hear me. My ears are getting ring. So it can cause like hearing loss. Auditory nerve damage, because they do this stuff so loud in our ears when we're not listening, and they're able to beam it at us, and so that we only hear the sound wave. They direct it right at us, and it can literally be like paralyzing. So sometimes when I would be working, or when I'd be talking to somebody or talking to one of my friends, you would kind of see me get knocked out of place, and the woman will literally zing me and zap me while I'm talking to people so that I can't focus. It's a way to get us alone and make us look crazy and get us alone so that we cave and give into this intercourse that not all of us want to actually do. Irritable bowel syndrome, it can cause nausea and a feeling of malaise, tinnitus, tremors, seizures, radiation, heart attacks, depression, anxiety, phobia, ear damage, muscle spasms because they're hitting us with an electrical pulse, damage to the auditory cortex, irrational behavior, physical damage to the organs because they set us on fire internally. It may actually penetrate the vestibular organ with sufficient strength. Nosebleeds, so they can increase the intracranial pressure with this electrical impulse into our nose, and they cause so much pressure into our brain and stuff like that. They like to do it when we're listening to music, so you'll see our heads pulsating and the pressure being risen in our heads while we're listening to music and certain beats, because they like the sound and the light, and literally bust. So we'll be sitting there and listening to the music, and out of nowhere, boom, our whole nose will like bust open and just start bleeding, and you'll just see like us holding our heads like, because they've put so much pressure into our brain. And like I said, this is very dangerous because not everybody who's controlling these boards and stuff like that is a doctor or a medical professional. He's a dang psychiatrist, and she's not even a doctor or a nurse, but she's sitting here regulating us and hitting us with these pulses that cause cancer, internal burns, damage our neurological system, our hearing, our brain, your pineal gland, your whole nervous system. That's why I had such a very big problem with it. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to take this money, because I was literally allotted $800. I was actually allotted $1 million at first, $20,000 a week. I turned it down because I was like, hey, this is too dangerous. I was like, I don't even own your books like that. I don't own your product. I don't own none of it. I was like, I've just done a little quick sweep around the perimeters of your business that you guys want me to patent and put in my name. I'll get to the audio stuff in a minute. And I was like, I'm aware I can get sued. Not only sued, I was like sued and literally be ostracized. Like my whole career would be ruined. They wanted to kill me for it. I was like, I'm aware it's illegal. I'm aware you got these sounds. I'm aware, I believe came from China. I'm not sure. I have nothing against Asian or anything like that. But like I said, when I get further into it, you'll realize he's actually partnered with the Chinese, I think. I don't know. I was like, a lot of it is like anime. A lot of it is these sounds are part of what I believe deep brain stimulation. along with his sonar weaponry or whatever like that, he's able to send electrocution to us. So with the deep brain stimulation with those audios, along with his electrical pulse, he's actually doing remote electric shock therapy. He sends us such strong electrical pulses that it stops our heart, or they like electrocute our genitals so that it's extremely painful. I can only imagine what that's like for a guy. They can like electrocute us internally when we're not listening. This was an interesting one too. Although no one knows what causes Parkinson's disease, it is possible that radiation and microwave attacks, which that's another thing you guys will have to study, microwave weapons and side effects of non-lethal weapons, produce severe itching, burning, can cause effect to form silk-like substance to emit out of the person's or individual's body. A silk-like substance to emit out of your body. Now, if you kind of study, and I know very basics of Tantra, I'm aware now that they mess with your electromagnetic field. That's actually kind of a scam, the whole thing. But you'll hear them talk about different orgasms women can have, and I think they refer to it as like the pearl or whatever like that, this silky, milky substance that the vagina can produce. Well, really, like I just said, it forces, with these microwave attacks and with them adjusting us electrically and stuff like that, they produce another substance that comes out of our vagina. And they like, I think, in the Tantra community, they call it like the silky pearl or like this discharge or whatever. It's very small. It's never been done to me, but I heard about it. So it's very interesting that they mentioned it in the document, because a lot of what they do with this electronic torture is they force us to have orgasms. It's just the truth. Especially this couple. I was like, and it's the woman that is like, she's a pervert. She's a perverse one. The purpose of electronic torture are known to alter the human mind and behavior without authorization and consent of the person. Electronic torture is a form of psychological warfare and social engineering that alters the person's thoughts and views, perspectives, and religious beliefs. The use of electronic torture through electronic weapons, electronic devices, and non-lethal weapons allows for the victim to be discredited when filing a complaint to any law enforcement federal agencies. The victim of electronic torture is forced involuntarily into mental institutions and forced on medication by the court systems without taking proper report or providing proper investigation. Altering mind and behavior of a person is inhumane and interfering with neurological receptors of the brain circuits and direct access to memory to lose functions and capabilities of a person's body, discrediting non-consensual persons or experimentations of the subject, punishing the victim for crimes that the victim has never committed or been prosecuted by judges. So this is that was very interesting, because you'll hear, when you talk to my friends or anybody that I talk to, you'll hear me say, I'm on punishments. I can't sleep, I can't shower, I can't use the bathroom without getting electrocuted. I'm on punishments. Because they are watching us all the time, so they know what the cops are saying, they know what the cops are doing, they know when we're gonna go talk. I'm like, I don't even know how you get ahead of them. I really don't. But they punish us, and then they'll always be like, hey, they'll dig up old dirt or whatever like that, old videos, old photos, and if we don't do what they say, they take it upon themselves to electrocute us, to sexually assault us all day. What this woman does is she turns on something called our psycho. So really it's an electronic, it's a mechanical induced psychosis. And I was like, I'm aware this is electronic and you're hitting me with a signal. So basically she can literally send her voice or her little voice over. She watches us all day with electronics or whatever, and she'll just keep talking and talking. And every time you're going to have a conversation or go do something with your kid or try to be productive or happy, they either electrocute you or she'll just be like, Musa, why don't you restroom? Like, she's always says something perverted. If I have to go through all the perverted stuff that she says, she refers to her disgusting pedophile husband as Musa. It's literally... I have so many disgusting things. I wish, honestly, I had been recording this, because I bought it. They're aware I'm going to pick the sound apart. So a lot of women, when they go through this, they deem themselves as crazy. They live with it or whatever like that. what I did was I started researching like different sound systems, how the military does audio, FBI equipment and stuff like that, lower decimal hearing, and I came across all of the stuff that's in this document. So they are aware that I was going to go get like a stereo or a speaker, oscillator, like sound, and start breaking the sound apart, amplifying it, turning it up, finding her signal throughout my house, because the police have always brushed me off. A lot of people have always brushed me off, but I was like, I'm aware I'm getting admitted. I'm like, this is an electronic pulse that's coming from an external factor. It's an electronic pulse that's coming from an external factor. So originally, so that's another way a lot of us in this community have won the lottery, whatever, because they use this form of hearing and control to tell us play number 2, 3, 5, whatever the numbers are. Go to this Circle K right here, and they'll like zap you until you go play these numbers at the lottery. You're gonna get a 60K or whatever it may be dumped into your account. Money randomly dumps into your account because we're hacked all the way. So they can come and do this electronic rape and all of that stuff, like while you're in the shower. Even in the document, they're going to mention the shower a lot. And you'll hear anybody I talk to is like, I can't shower. I can't shower because this couple and this, especially the woman, they like to sexually assault you while you're showering. And I'm like, this woman she's the most disgusting human being ever. Like, you can even, they're like kind of zipping and zapping at my feet. Nobody's ever exposed her. Nobody's ever exposed her as being a pedophile. So a pedophile, a stalker, a rapist, a sadist, a big one, the most disgusting stuff you guys have ever heard of in your life. Like, she likes to literally, like, I'll get to it later, but just really horrible, horrible things. It's if you read through the document, they actually refer to what she does as female genital mutilation. Not only to me, but she's also, I'm aware she's done it to a lot of the men. So when they said that I was going to win all the lottery and all the money in the world and everything, and fame and everything, they had to up it because they were aware either way I was going to expose it. So they're like, how does she even know about this stuff? Whatever. And I'll get to that another day. But basically, at the end of the day, when I say I was threatening to de-shield everybody, if everybody in this world had to walk around right now with like a little barometric pressure reading thing around their neck, you would find that there's some people walking this earth, and it's fine. I may very well even be one of them because I'm aware I've had this for a while, but we can't go very long without getting our shield turned on and then pressurizing us, because we've been under this type of radio activation, this different frequency and stuff like that. Our bodies have been adjusted, we've been regulated, we've been on our neurological system has basically been connected for a very long time to a computer board. We've all been neurologically mapped out, so they have to like pressurize our bodies differently. There's some people from this community that have had their DNA tampered with. I may have, I'm not all the way sure. So that goes into like a whole other thing. But the purpose of the electronic torture is known to alter the human's mind behavior without authorization. I think I went through this already. So the electronic torture perpetrators intentionally select survivors of abuse. So if you're a survivor of abuse, if you're alone a lot, and not just that, they don't just select survivors of abuse. You don't have to be abused. You can be very beautiful, and they're gonna select you. You can be very famous, and they're gonna select you. Like, they do all kinds of stuff. So, through the process of which electronic torture, the organized slander and defamation of character is often used on the victim's person and provides hardships to the victim's lives. Electronic torture wreaks havoc on the victims and their families. It causes families to dysfunction and isolate victims or persons from their loved ones, which cause separation of the family, divorces, terrorizations of the loved ones, and recurring emotional hardships. Electronic torture produces financial hardships and unpredictable medical expenses. My paper got wet, so excuse me. I still everybody likes to do a lot of things like all digitalized. I still like paper and pen. Okay, electronic torture is an invasion of privacy. and is considered crimes against humanity and is mass genocide. So why is it mass genocide? Like, imagine somebody having access to your brain files or your little brain waves through this electronic torture, through different like electronic devices, whether that be a camera, a satellite, your phone, your laptop, your microwave. You have to look into microwave weaponry. They can follow you around all day with it, and when you don't listen, they electrocute you because they're always watching you, so you're getting hit with the pulse. So, like, even I'll just use this Sage's dad, for instance. So whenever he calls me, whenever he texts me, they immediately start electrocuting me. They'll immediately start like talking and electrocuting my brain. Or I'll be getting like sexually assaulted, and they'll be the woman like, we're tired of him, da 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 da. They can like put a knife inside of your vagina. They do disgusting stuff. So stuff like that. It can affect victims, person's computer by hacking computers, laptops, tablets, cellular devices, landlines, and alter social media accounts. Put an individual's lives or others into danger by using electronic devices, non-lethal weapon systems, electronic weapons, IR sensors, and RFID. Electronic torture has been detrimental, has had a detrimental effect on society, and the use of weapons and electronic devices can alter and manipulate voter fraud and manipulation, mental health crises, and still the victims of personal intellect property by the use of electronic devices. The electronic torturers can break into a victim's home, vandalize, steal, destroy the victim's personal property. It can inflict pain to animals, your pets, through the use of non-lethal weapons, electronic devices, radio frequency identification, which is what I've talked a lot about. I was like, they're using a radio signal basically to intercept my electromagnetic field around me. It's like a 10-foot span, and I was like, most women don't study DARPA. I know it as the aura. So I'm like, like I said, I don't know how to change a tire. I'm not anything. I've been given a lot of hints, subliminal hints. And I've also been hit with the program, which I'll be discussed another time. So that's why I kind of know what this stuff is. Chips and electronic devices. As I stated, chips. You'll see a lot of these perpetrators, like him and his wife, they're older, they were born human, they actually entered like a program, secret program, which is what they were trying to have me enter or whatever, and or they did it illegally, they illegally got chipped. Like him and his wife, I'm pretty sure, actually have an implanted chip, and that's how they connect and do their server stuff, because we don't necessarily need a phone, which is another thing I'll have to get into, to log on to the internet when we have that other, the barometric field, the other field of pressure up around us. That's like our interface. So, you know, like all the cool sci-fi stuff, you see your Instagram that you can just touch here, and like be reading and stuff like that. It's because they're already logged on or whatever. So you have to, like, somebody like her, you'll notice they never sleep. They're older when they have the chip. I feel like they're older, but somebody like me doesn't really require the chip. Through different forms of technology, planes, drones, aerial and vehicle units, BCIs, which is all I've been talking about, is a brain-computer interface system. So they have to check for BCI boards. HCI, AI, augmented reality, AR, VR, holograms, which is how I said they hologram into my house. It's not a body of light. I was like, this couple holograms into my house. It's a pressurized hologram that they can come in and they pressurize the field around me so that only me and them can see it, and we're literally able to have full-blown sex with with his hologram and her hologram, which I said it sounds cool, right? But it's not cool when it's a pervert or a creep and they're stalking you with it. It's fine if you want to do it with whoever. Because like I said, I'm aware I'm not the only person that's done it. Whatever. I'm so embarrassed, but I was like, it's consensual. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, that's not rape. That's somebody that you would have sex with, whatever. This couple is full-blown on harassing people. So holograms, projections, wireless communication. You will hear me Bluetooth. I was like, the reason why I can't block them out, everybody's like Faraday cage, or, you know, block from Wi-Fi signal and cell phones. I was like, because it's not Wi-Fi, it's Bluetooth connection. when you guys study Bluetooth connection, what you will find is that most Bluetooth connection is ran on GPS navigation systems, like they're ran with GPS navigation systems. So you'll notice when you're driving, even when there's no cellular signal, you still are getting the signal, turn left, turn right, because that's a Bluetooth connection. So he's running and operating his device on Bluetooth connection, which is a lot harder to try to break out of and block, because a lot of like heart monitors, brain monitors, a lot of medical machinery is ran on Bluetooth connection. So in case the wireless knocks out, there's the backup or whatever. You will also find with the Bluetooth connection, the connection to like cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So that's a whole other thing. VHF, radio towers, radio frequencies, scalar waves, sonic energy, solar energy, lasers through use of telecommunications in the forms of waves, beams, pulses, streams, signals, and directional antenna systems. All of the stuff I've been talking about that people literally, everybody was like, do you just think you're smarter than everybody? I'm like, no. I was like, the only reason why is because I'm familiar with this verbiage. This isn't the first time that I've heard it. So even when all of this story ties together, you guys are going to see I was already programmed to reverse it. So and I'm like, that's going to tie into a whole other thing. And I was like, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because I'm like, hey, I was like, it's just a whole thing. But anyways, the criminals are using different technology with computers, networks, virtual machines, smart and interactive hub systems, cloud services, virtualization systems, wireless technology, mobile virtual operating networks, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, remote access to all forms of the victim's electronic devices, communications, and electronic transactions. With help from law enforcement, technology software, firearm management, control systems, broadcasting systems, remote online access, criminals can access the network using radio frequencies and attack the victim. Do you guys know how hard it is to protect yourself from a radio frequency? I didn't even know what a Faraday cage was. Most people don't know what a Faraday cage was. That's why I was like, hey, this is such an unfair fight. Everybody's being taught about the AI and robots and all this cool, what Elon Musk's robots are going to do, how they're going to take over the planet and over us, and there's going to be a merge eventually with everybody, right? But nobody knows how to shield from radio waves, especially somebody like me. I was like, what the heck? This is like an unfair fight. Women don't know about radio waves. They don't know about electromagnetic fields. We don't know about Faraday cages. You can go up to a kid, they can tell you how to hook up onto that iPad and onto your cell phone, but they can't tell you how to protect the radio waves, how to protect from the radio waves that are powering that stuff in case something goes wrong and they get hacked. No one even can even imagine a sound or an internet wave or a being getting hacked. I was like, no one's taught like that. So I was like, this is all unfair. I was just very upset about everything. I was like, this is a total unfair fight for humanity. So when I was offered all this money, all of this fame, everything that you guys can imagine, I literally got my ass kicked, damn near killed, my heart stopped, all kinds of stuff, lost my job. That's a whole story for a whole other day. I'm like, it even says in this law, if you're a healthcare provider and someone has ever reported this to you and you didn't go report it, you're subject to lose your license. I don't even want to get into how many female healthcare providers I actually worked with. The dean of my school. I'm fired. She literally came into my office. I have it all recorded, where she's talking about I had to delete a video of people being chipped, and I was like, little did she know, I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm getting controlled, I'm getting electrocuted, and if you think people ain't chipped, why the fuck are people checking for the goddamn chip? It's here, an illegal police file that you can easily go obtain off of the internet. I'm like, like I said, it was psychosis. They're actually, if you read through this device, anybody who dismissed me, anybody who did anything and didn't properly check me, even the police. That's why I was like, hey, I'm aware I'm being followed, right? So everything that has ever happened to me, the police, my job, friends, family, messages, you don't even want me to show you guys some of the messages my friends, or the people that I love close enough, this setup and stuff that I was being accused of, or what they were saying. I was like, even though I was sitting here telling the truth and being like, can you educate yourself? Can you guys properly educate yourself before I am completely poo-pooed off, wanted to be thrown into a psychiatric ward or anything like that? No, I was totally brushed off. But if you are a healthcare provider and you ever dismiss me, I'm like, I have a lot of it recorded. It just leaves you up to be sued for everything that you've ever had to be taken from you. I was like, I don't even want to show you the stupid write-ups for my job. It's ridiculous. It is the sickest stuff what I've had to go through. It's actually really sad. But basically, at the end of the day, I didn't want to take it because I didn't find this to be beneficial to the world. At the end of the day, I didn't find it to be very, very beneficial to humanity, how the world was going to progress. I'm like, children need to be taught about the Faraday cage law. Every country, not just America, everybody, I was like, every hospital is going to need to be, there's going to have to be some sort of Faraday cage room space built in. Like, that's the type of stuff I was thinking about. So I was like, before everybody comes and thinks I just wanted to outsmart or be a brat, it was none of that. I was like, hey, we're going to need blankets. There's going to need to be like some sort of like internal vaginal devices that they place in us so you can see when we're getting operated. They even do it to our throat. Not only for the vagina, for every injury or whatever of the body. But, so that's the type of stuff that I was thinking about. And that's what's gotten me into so much trouble. And that, I was like, the forgiveness, I'm already over it. But, I was like, unfortunately, I do think that there's going to be a lot of consequences that come from this. Electronic torture is an invasion of privacy and considered crimes against humanity and is mass genocide. So I talked about that. The software, the radio frequencies. Actually, what's really sad is if you look at like the bandwidth or like like the spectrum that needs to be covered to protect everybody from radio frequencies, people like me or whatever like that, it's very, very, very wide. It's not even constructed yet, and that's done purposely. I believe, at least, it's done purposely. And I do believe that it can actually be constructed. I've never built anything before, but I might just actually build a Faraday cage. In order to secure exemptions surrounding organized violence, torture organizations, there can be new laws, basically, that can be, they're talking about organized stalking, so also you're able to stalk people with this. It's a whole thing. I'm getting stalked. An electronic weapon means a device or a lethal non-weapon from which an electrical current can be sent. So a lot of the times what you guys will notice he promotes and markets are these medallions. These medallions we're taught in the community, you can't get them wet. If you listen to the show or whatever, you can't get them wet. They work within a 10-foot radius span. And we're also taught that him and his wife are angels and that they're allowed to follow us around. You'll always have an angel following you around everywhere. Will help control your dreams and will help guide you through light. That's all code for voyeurism, which is in my police reports. But, okay. An electronic weapons means a device or a non-lethal weapon from which an electrical current pulses, beams, waves, signal, or sound wave that is directed and whose current pulse, beam, or wave or sound wave is designed to incapacitate, injure, assault, rape, or murder the person or persons. They've taken my eyesight while I've driven. I was like, how is this not assault with a deadly weapon? I was like, that's attempted murder. And him and his wife behind the scenes when they did that, they're like, you'll lose your eyes. Eyes, we call it eyes. They took her eyes while I'm driving. They've done it like 2 or 3 times. They've hit me with electricity so hard. She likes to electrocute me when I'm in my car to stop my heart. They're able to murder us with it because they can shut our lungs down. They can shut your lungs down with it. They can shut your heart down. They can do what they can do with this is so horrific. I was like, I honestly don't think I really want anything to do with it. That's why I was like, I would rather build a shield for it. I would rather people learn how to build these shields and stuff like that. Even to know, like, hey, if the robot or whatever like that came after you, one of these robots or these cars wanted to take you over, literally all you'd have to do is like, there's like a code or a reversal code. I don't know if you just have to say it or you'd have to like cover yourself or beam it at. I don't know. But I was like, I'm aware that there's some sort of Faraday shield that can be built. Let's see. Implanting any form of an electrical device or using any form of a sound wave. So they're already talking about implants. So they can chip your phone, they can chip your car, they can chip you. Another thing, laws for legislation are offenses related to the act of eavesdropping on that person using a form of electronic devices that produce a wave, a beam, a signal, sound, or tone. Any electronic tracking of the device to determine a location. A lot of the times you'll hear me tell people I can't share my location, like they have it locked on some way. Even in my Instagram is different than everybody else's. They can like delete a picture from my Instagram. Even if I block somebody, they can still send me a message. Like even if I go block somebody, that blocked person can send me a message. They can delete my pictures from my Instagram, and then they can put the picture right back where they deleted it, like at that same date and time, instead of like me having to repost it all over again. They want, a part of what I have to do is sign over my image. That's why they want to control my Instagram. Even when this first all happened, if my friends even go back to my messages, I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, he wants to control my Instagram. They're going to talk a lot about manipulation of the Instagram because they hack into everything, our iClouds, our photos, our pictures. So what I was told is, she's like, we're marketing you, and we want full control of your image. 10% of whatever you're going to make, like I said, they told me I was going to be very famous. 10% of whatever you make, control of your full image. So they can take my pictures and go make different videos, AI videos of me that aren't really me. They also would have been able to control my voice, what I'm allowed to post on YouTube, what I'm allowed to say. If I don't listen, what you guys will actually find out, and maybe a hard thing to grasp right now, but they can actually talk for me. So I was like, hey, y'all gonna have to check my like electricity and EMF because I'm being powered and they're doing all kinds of stuff to me. But everybody's looking at me like I just sound crazy. When you read through this document, you'll find that I'm not. It's actually real stuff. Electronic or the electronic device or the non-lethal weapon system and injuries were often invisible and cannot be seen by the naked eye, because I say they some of us actually, with this light that they can hit us with, it stimulates the pineal gland so they can make it look very holographic or whatever. But also I'm aware there are people who actually have this like software installed on them, so they actually have like different OSINs on their eyes like that are dormant or actually turned on. It's embarrassing. I'm like, hey, I was like, I got an upgrade. It almost gives you an identity issue because you're like, you know, but and not almost, it does give you an identity issue. That acutely or chronically damages the internal organs of another person's, dangerously interrupts or impairs biological functioning of the person's brain, heart, human muscular, human cellular damage in a way that causes an acute risk to the person or inflicts severe pain to that person. So when you go through this man's website, what you guys will see are a lot of radiation stations. Some of them are up to $20,000. So basically what he's done, and I'm like, I'm not an engineer, I never bought this stuff or anything like that. I literally just read the synopsis. I never ordered the books. I don't really have the product. I had a couple I had the audios and a couple of medallions, that's it. So they forced all this stuff on me against my will. But when you put your blood onto one of those radiation stations, what happens is, because they already have the bionic eyes installed on them, they're able to zoom in on your DNA strand. And when they zoom in on your DNA strand on one of their stations or whatever like that, it's actually being emitted. It has EMF, it's chipped, so it's like electronically charged along with a certain hertz. So it's vibrating at a certain way that you can't really see, so the sound beam. And it could be vibrating at anything. One could be to give you cancer. One could be whatever it's going to be, but they're able to manipulate your genome, like just so. They're able to look at your genome and manipulate it in that little computer board, and then like send the beam back at you through this electronic beam, and then like they can manipulate your cellular division. So once they do that and they see how you got to be adjusted, they can go hit you with a certain frequency that can give you cancer, or possibly even cure it, mimicking a miracle, but it's really not a miracle. It's advanced technology. They can optic fire your hair out. I've had so many punishments. You guys don't even optic firing my hair. They can impersonate. This is actually a very long document, but I'm just going to go ahead through it. But electronic weapons or electronic device dangerously or deliriously interrupts or impairs the bioelectric functioning of that person's brain. So I talked about that. Any military grade weapon system, lethal and non-lethal, artificial intelligence programs, virtualization systems, augmented reality, RFID, IR sensors, electronic devices, biosensoring. Don't even get me started on the biosensoring. So they can literally make you skinny, make you fat. I'm like, I'm just gonna get my own BCI board and do it myself, because why would I ever go under this? Once you actually figure out all of this modification can be done, you're gonna be like mind blown when I kind of start showing it and breaking it apart. So biosensoring, you'll see if you Google BCI boards, biosensoring can be included in the package that you buy. Mind mapping, so they can map your mind. Also, they can map your neurological system, and that's for mind reading things and finding faster neural pathways and finding out what your thoughts are going to be. Neural technology must have written consent and permission. So what you'll find is through this community, he has it all masked as magic. It's really technology, and he never gave anybody consent. Nobody knew what was being done to them. Everything was done against everybody's will. The person volunteering, so everybody who's a part of Tybro and the Solar Gazing community, the person volunteering will be compensated, and all medical issues that arise shall be paid for. What you will find out is because he's a psychiatrist and a doctor, he's a person of trust. So just by him having that title, he's liable to 50 years in prison, and all of your pain and suffering should be paid for. I would say somewhere probably around $2 million, but I think you guys probably deserve a lot more. Because, like I said, Beyonce is gonna lawsuit him. Why would Beyonce lawsuit him? I'm pretty sure she's gonna still lawsuit him because everything's gonna get out. And yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are going to be paid pretty well, and I'm pretty sure not his wife won't be subpoenaed. She told me, she's like, I'll be subpoenaed. I was like, no, you won't. You're going to prison. And your kids are probably going to go to prison if they don't rat on your ass. So, because this is she's a bigger pedophile than Jeffrey Epstein or whatever his wife's name is. She's literally probably the biggest pedophile you guys have ever seen, and I'll explain that in another video. Misleading his or her law enforcement agency to believe that electronic torture complaint is delusional, paranoid, that what I'm experiencing is a mental illness or psychosis. Dismissing the complaint and detaining the complainant in a psychiatric institution. That can be punishable. If you go through this, I'm not going to read through it all, but law enforcement or officer agent, emergency technician, or doctor who leads or controls, administers an electronic torture and is command of an organized stalking shall be sentenced to no less than 30 years imprisonment, not more than 50. And all of the fines, I'm sure it's, like I said, I think it's going to be more than $2 million. So like I said, if I was to take over this woman's spot, as they are trying to get me to do, if I was to take over this woman's spot and do what she's done, I could lose everything. And in return, even though I get $1 billion and I get all the fame, I literally could be sued and everything be taken from me in an instant. Instead, I was like, they didn't do it the right way. I was like, they did it the back end way, and I'm like, people need to be properly tested. Everything that's being done to you needs to be properly explained to you guys. If I was to even come and shoot one little beam at you, I need to have a written consent from you guys, and I need you guys to know, like, hey, I'm gonna genetically modify you this way. So, and what you will find is some of us are genetically modified, which is fine. I believe I'm very well, maybe I'm not always sure. Like I said, they're electronically doing it to me. I don't have chips. I don't think I have chips or anything. But, and I'd have to tell you, hey, this is gonna happen. A lot of us girls, we have our hair grown out. there's somebody like regulating our hair growth and stuff once we get hooked up to this, and it's her. So part of what she does if we don't listen is she takes out our hair. Like you guys will see some of my hair was plucked out. The optic fired it. You can't see it right now, but there's like, I'll show the little spot. Like my leave out to my weed, she went ahead and like plucked away. I've never lost my hair before. And it's part of our punishment. They're like, okay, well, we'll target her beauty. And I've had a baby, I've had a period my whole life. I've never had any issues until I was hooked up to their BCI program. So what is very funny is that the person who actually was like controlling my hormones and stuff, very embarrassing, but it was actually a man. And I never lost my hair. When I got pregnant, I didn't really get stretch marks. They're able to control your stretch marks, all kinds of stuff. So I just found that to be kind of funny because what on earth? But anyways, that's why I'm like, oh, I'm aware they want me to say a lot of stuff that's not true. Any law enforcement or federal unit systems, watch lists and alike that are intended to keep persons with psychological disabilities, whether perceived or actual, under law enforcement or federal surveillance shall be completely abolished. A person who is responsible for establishing a psychological disability practice shall be permanently barred from an employed law. So basically this is just saying all the way that he can be punished. Like all of his little board certifications and all those things that he's ever been awarded are gone. And I was like, yes, please. And his wife, nobody has exposed his wife. So she's going to be the next person that needs to be exposed. So the special task force, so what you guys will see is in this act that they're actually putting together for people like me. It's very interesting. You guys should read through the document. fMRI scans of the victim's whole body with and without contrast. This will prove any abnormalities to the body done by any non-lethal weapon systems, electronic devices, electronic weapons, and prove locations of the brain is being attacked and white masses is shown. So my brain has literally, I don't know what's going to show. I'm probably going to be getting mine here soon. But if you guys actually Google fMRI scans, what you guys will see is they're actually Faraday caged. So when we're under those machines, they can't really zap us and stuff like that the way that they want to, which is another way that they hide. So when we go to get imaging done, they're like, well, we're not picking up this signal while your machine is actually partly Faraday caged. And also, interesting, the dream stuff. So when I started Googling, and I haven't even done that deep of a search on it, but when I started Googling dream manipulation, and you see Samsung is going to go ahead and like start taking over like dream control and stuff like that, they use similar software of fMRI machines, and I believe it has something to do with pineal gland. I'm not all the way sure, the way the radio signals, I'm not sure. But either way, it's a very interesting connection. We also have to get a full body x-ray. The purpose of a full body x-ray is to determine such factors as implants. Why would the government be scanning people for implants if implants haven't already been detected? And if I told people he's implanted, his teeth, there's stuff in his teeth, everything, him and his wife, I was like, they can't go to prison like normal people. They have to be Faraday caged. Their whole bodies have to be scanned. Every plant, everything has to be taken out. For their jewelry, their Bibles, their little religious praying things, they're all EMF'd. I was looked at as crazy by the police. Also, the implant thing, like I said, I literally was written up over my job about it. They wanted me to take the video down and make it private. They called me, I don't even want to get started. These are deans of schools. These are actual women health providers. Some of them actually work in sex trafficking, and I was totally dismissed. If you go through this, what you're going to find is when all this comes to light or whatever like that, anybody who dismissed me, anybody, especially if you were a doctor, a nurse, or something like that, they're actually going to be liable to lose their license. Full body x-ray, the purpose of full body x-ray, I talked about that. Blood analysis is known. It is known that electric weapons, electronic devices, and non-lethal weapons alter the body, the victim's body, which tests run a victim, or you can run a test and you'll have high lipids, low salt, high cholesterol, possible radiation. Poisons, nanotechnology, simple blood test analysis can be drawn to also tell if the electron count is in the blood to prove that there's a paramagnetic in the blood cells. With conjunction of the non-lethal weaponry that is being used on the person or an individual, this will help prove that the victim is being tortured through electronic torture. So because they watch us all the time, this is actually a very good theory. It is something that should be done, but what you guys have to realize is you guys have to draw our blood in real time. You have to draw our blood in real time because they can always go in there and start manipulating it a little bit. So it's like, hey, if we feel the electricity, you'd have to draw it like right then and there. Just so you guys know that, because if they electrocuted us at 5 o'clock in the morning and then we go to you guys at like 5 p.m., whatever they did, they could already have like neutralized it with our blood and stuff like that. It's very, very highly sophisticated technology. Just a side note for you guys, add in their RF detectors, so the radio frequency detectors. The special task force will be responsible for going to the victim's home and investigating the radio frequencies that are against FCC and EPA levels and regulations. ELF and EMF field, so the electromagnetic field. When I say I was like, hey, I'm hacked, my electromagnetic field is hacked, there's another radio signal, my electromagnetic field, and I'm underneath different barometric pressure. That's what I went to my psychiatrist and said, and she literally couldn't even handle it. She's like, what are you talking about? Like I said, that ties into something totally different, and I was like, So basically, if you start talking about the vocabulary, medical professionals are very highly educated. I'm not going to take that from anybody, but it doesn't mean that you're very highly educated in every area. As far as like when I want to talk about electronics, sounds, lights, satellites, all of that stuff. I was like, and if you're not open to hearing about what's really out there and the way that these people abuse these tools and stuff like that, then we get labeled crazy, we get labeled all types of stuff. I was like, but as you guys see, it's an actual real thing. It's actually really sad because I know a lot of people have been suffering much longer than I have. A handheld or wireless UHF RFID scanner, reader, writer scan, UV light, 385 nanometers to 400 nanometers. Why? I'll kind of go into why that is important, but the UV light, I'm not going to get too much into that right now. Night vision scope, like I say, there's different OSINs on our eyes that are activated. I think it's what they're called, OSINs, but our eye vision is expanded along with our hearing vision, our hearing. So we're able to hear what most people don't hear above and below your normal auditory hearing. I was aware I'm able to see things that you don't see because they turn on different things in the gene, and it's very interesting. So that we can see basically a holographic projection at the end of the day. It's the fourth dimension. I was like, I'm aware it's holographic projection. It can be aimed just at us, and if you break down all of this equipment and stuff like that, basically what you'll end up breaking down is the metaverse. So that's a whole other reason why they didn't want it exposed, but there goes your fourth dimension and your metaverse. And for people who practice magic, there goes like your magic, because it's going to be exposed as technology. Even when it comes to like doing that cool 2-finger punch, or how those guys do the dream manipulation, or even levitation. I was like, you'll see with the 2 fields, you can, I'm not even going to get into it, but I was like, they can do so much dang stuff with this. Handheld metal detector, portable spectrum analyzer, 3G and 6G, H-scala testing. I don't know anything about scalar waves. I couldn't tell you off of my mouth exactly what they do. What I could do is tell you like, hey, what's the measurements and how do I possibly detect them? Because I'm aware of that. I'm not that smart. 3-in-1 digital dental CT scan. You'll see people like his wife, they have stuff in their teeth. Real-time spectrum analyzer will show signals that are being used on the victim of electronic torture and radio frequencies that are being used for broadcasting through FM and AF bandwidth and radio frequencies. An RF spectrum analyzer, computer technicians, audio surveillance, and subliminal acoustic fingerprinting. Don't even get me started on that. For women, it's actually a very interesting thing to learn about. It has been proven once the audio, video, and phone conversation is stripped, the victim can hear the perpetrators and pick up on the signals that are being used to torture the victim. Because sometimes they don't always use words, they use a sound. This is a sure way to prove the victim is being tortured by electronic weapons, along with audio surveillance. They have to analyze everything. Triangulate signals and positions. Once the audio is confirmed, the special task force can locate the audio system. They need to hack. There's so much stuff in here. It's really interesting. It just gives me a lot of confirmation of what I have been experiencing. That my dog actually died, and they do actually use EMP weaponry on the animals. I want to go through all of it. Causing severe, they can cause severe abuse and pain on the animals, pets, and creatures with the weapons. Like I said, my dog mysteriously died. I want to get her dug up and check her electricity and all of that. But the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, because it's been very hard for me to talk about, is the pedophilia that's done with it. So, and why you guys have seen me lose my mind online, and when I say they're gonna rape my daughter, they're gonna get my daughter, it's actually in this document. A lot of the women, probably even the men, we complain about it. It's very embarrassing to say. Okay, so what you guys, if you recall me having these breaks right at the beginning about 2 years ago, what you'll hear me say is they're pedophiles. They have pictures of my daughter. It's because they do, like I said, I'm hacked. If you ever taken little pictures of your baby in the bathtub or whatever, you know how moms do, potty training and stuff like that. Basically the same way that they've hacked my iCloud, they have my Gmail account, my photos and everything like that. They take the nude images, the digital images of your kid, people like him and his wife, and they market them on the black market. That's for another day. But here, let me read this to you. So sexual abuse. So electronic torture groups and perpetrators use electronic devices and non-lethal weaponry and electronic weapons to sexually assault the victims. You hear me talk about the rape a lot. The perpetrators harass the victims in the shower. Oh my gosh, all I ever do is talk about taking a shower. It's rather embarrassing. Like, you can't even shower by yourself. Because I'm like, you get electrocuted, this woman can't, they do, I'm not even going to description, but in the victim's bed, home, vehicle, you hear me say they attack me and electrocute me a lot while I'm driving. So and even at the victim's work, so like I say, she likes to attack us while we're at work, so we can't work and do what we gotta do. The perpetrators point the electronic weapons and non-lethal weapons at the victim's private areas to produce orgasms and unintentional pain. This type of technology demoralizes, humiliates, desecrates, and violates the victim's right. Since this technology leaves no scars and is not seen by the naked eye, it is hard for the victim to prove to the authorities without the proper investigation. This technology can also be used on the victim's children or child. Having knowledge to the victims that the perpetrators are victimizing his or her child, and knowing that the perpetrators will not stop unless the victim kills him or herself. The victim will often take their own life, so the abuse on the child will then stop. Often, people such as Kathy Gibson will not stop after the death of the victim and will continue to. Often, people like Kathy Gibson will not stop and will continue to torture. It literally says it in this file. Will continue to torture and harass and torture the children. So when I say I lost my mind, I refused for not even $800 million. I was like, for no amount of money was I ever going to allow this couple to to have the neural codes to my child and hook her up to this BCI computer so that her and her husband can start coming into my daughter's dreams. I'll explain that later, but also be hitting my child with these beams. Not only would they be hitting my daughter with these beams and doing this electronic rape, or I call it an energetic molestation. Kathy likes kids about 0 to 4. I can explain to you how they can verify that later, but her and her husband like children. She's, like I said, she's one of the biggest pedophiles that I've ever walked this earth. When I come to break all of this down, what you will also see is when we're placed on these BCI computers, this is rather embarrassing. It's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. I'm very embarrassed to admit it. They can talk for us. They can hit a certain area with this light and actually control our speech. So she can be controlling my daughter to say things that aren't true. And I'm like, and if I'm dead or whatever it is that they're going to do to me, people may believe that what she's saying is true, but unless you go check the electricity coming off of my daughter, unless you go check on her, like they could beam off of, you have to Google microwave weapons. They can take this light and beam off of your child's electronic toys. They can control their toys. They can control their little Barbies. They can control the TV. They control their laptop, their iTop, the cell phone, anything that's electronic, your microwave, your stove, anything that is electronic they can beam off of. And they can be like sitting there controlling her, telling her what to say. They can do it to anybody's kid actually, and unless you know how to go check for everything and they're like properly shielded with the Faraday cage, if I'm dead, nobody's going to be checking my daughter properly. So that was a very big thing for me as well. I'm very glad that it's in this document, and it made me a lot more comfortable to come out and talk about it. There's a lot of things that I actually wanted to discuss in here, a lot more in depth that I wanted to go with it. Unfortunately, my paper is wet. And like I said, there's a lot of us walking around that may actually be BCI'd, but not everybody is doing bad with it. Not all of this stuff is, some of it is very consensual. For some women, like I said, it's very consensual, whatever. You use it for long distance relationships, whatever you may want to use it for. But for me, with this couple, it is not. So when I say all you have to do is go check the barometric pressure around some of these people, and there's some very people that are in positions of power that if they literally had to wear this around their neck, a barometric pressure checker or atmospheric pressure checker, even if you just did it around their ears, they wouldn't be able to go very long without putting up their shield and having to do it. There's nothing embarrassing about it. I don't even know if I can do it, because I've actually been under this a lot longer than what I've realized, but I was never really shielded. I was never tampered with, whatever it is. But I didn't require other pressurized fields and stuff like that. So basically, if you had to put this around their neck all day, maybe a month, maybe 2, I don't know how long they can go, but they can't go very long without it, because they've been under this, they've been on a BCI for so long. Their body's not going to regenerate. The cellular regeneration isn't going to be the same. Like, it's just a little bit different. You know, I'm struggling with it. They also can't do some of the stuff that they do as far as like surfing the internet wirelessly and stuff like that, or like being able to hack everything. I don't know. But there's just, some of us actually require it. It's not just men, women. There's a lot of women who require it. I don't even know what would happen if the radio signal that I'm talking about was completely blocked. There may actually be people who fall over because they've been under this. Think about it. Your body has to be under a different pressurized field for so long, and you come out of it, similar to like when you're in space and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to control your body in the same way. Things aren't going to regulate the same way because you've been under a different pressurized field. So very embarrassing things may happen as far as like their bowels, how they digest food, things like that. So for this woman to be tampering anybody's body, any sort of fields, anything, that's why I was like, hey, she's not a doctor, and he's not that type of doctor that's even supposed to be even doing stuff like that unless you're in a hospital setting. That's why I'm like very irritated. And because they keep on stalking me, because this woman literally thinks that she's undetectable. She's like, I'm undetectable. Nobody's ever exposed me before. Nobody's ever told the truth about who and what I am. Everything like that. They thought I was going to want to be the new her for all of the money and fame. I was like, no. There's literally no money. I was like, there's no fame you guys can offer me. I was like, this has been a complete waste of my time. At the end of the day, I'm like, this is what this is all about. I was like, I have to, basically what I feel like is I was like, I've had to embarrass myself. I've had to lose quite a bit for something I never even purchased or bought, something I was forced to do. I've been sexually assaulted and stalked by people I want to be nothing like. I think they've left the most horrendous imprint on this earth that you can ever even imagine. My heart broke to even know. I was like, I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I was like, the fact that this woman has done this to people, she's a coacher. I was so angry inside. I was like, I know a lot of these guys know I was having the biggest fit you guys could ever even imagine. I was like, I don't care if it's a woman. I was like, I can't, like, my threshold, my barometer for that type of stuff is a 0. Even the electricity that she hits, I know she hits these dudes with electricity so hard it's hard enough to stop their heart. I don't tolerate that. And I'm like, I feel terrible because I was like, I know a lot of these guys they're like macho and they're like, oh, we can take it. I was like, hell. When I say it's a hell no, it is a hell no. It's a hey. I don't even want them to ever even say they felt a little zap on their tongue, because you cannot touch somebody without consent. So I'm like, I don't care if it's a guy. I was like, hey, no. This stupid stuff. I was like, they do. You also hear us complain a lot about our ears. That's a whole other thing. I for sure. I know they bypass the. They send the electrical impulse right into our audio nerve, at the cochlear nerve or whatever like that. But sometimes they pressurize our eardrums, but it's a very unnatural pressurized pressure against our eardrums. You'll see our eardrums shake. It drives me crazy, the shaking. You will hear me say, I want these ears off so bad. Turn my hearing off so bad, because I want it back to how it was. I was like, I can handle a text message and everything just fine. But I'm not one for abuse. Especially with knowing like most people have been abused their whole lives. Most people aren't that educated. Most people don't possess the vocabulary for the stuff that I'm talking about. It's usually just, and I'm not no physics major or anything, an engineer. I'm not any of that stuff. I literally was hit very young with certain key terms that were very detrimental to this fourth dimension, this metaverse. That's threatened to take everybody's shield down that has this on. And I was like, but I am aware, I'm not gonna lie, I have had some attunements or whatever you want to call it to make me smarter, especially in math and science. That part I'm not gonna lie, I'm very well aware I've gotten an upgrade, but it wasn't from them. And it's actually quite embarrassing, because I'm like, I don't even know, was I gonna be done without that? I don't know. But yes, they could do it with sound, so it's like I've been hit with a little Morse code. I was over the age of 18 when I was getting Zine, so my brain was already developed. It's very funny, but this couple is disgusting what they've done to an entire community, solar-based community. So what you'll find is a lot of their long-term members will probably be the first little community that may have to come out as a BCI, because I was supposed to be back to controlling their board. I very well may be, but I can't believe somebody was able to get away with this. It infuriates me. Because to me, if you've gone through any sort of medical training and you've done something like this to people without informed consents, proper education, and you reward them with money and gifts and fear, basically they've been brainwashed, they've been mastermind manipulated. Don't even get me started on the dreams that they do. It's so disgusting. It's the only stuff that I could think of that it reminded me of is hearing about like guys who had like parents in the CIA or FBI. They got like brainwashed, like those stories of those guys in those chairs that are like getting brainwashed to watch kids be murdered and stuff like that, doing horrendous I don't even feel like talking about it, saying it out loud. I'm so uncomfortable with it. But because I was like, I got my barometer for that is 0. Whether it's a man, a grown man, adult, child, I was like, it's a 0. So there's just a lot of things. I'm very happy that I've come across stuff that has coincided to almost every single thing that I've said. Even when it came to reporting stuff to the police, I'm like, oh my God, everything that I ever called and said is recorded. Some of the cops are actually laughing over the phone. Laughing. I'll let that sink in. But I'm very happy. I hope this video is going to be very long. I'm going to have to piece it together. I'm not an AI content creator or anything like that. I'm not anybody but somebody who has been, victim of this abuse of this electronic torture and this electronic stalking. Like most women, I didn't have the proper, because we're not military trained and all that. I have white privilege. I just knew very little key terms that were highly explosive to this whole thing. Not just his organization. To Elon Musk's stuff, everything. Because like I said, I was like, you guys have to be shielded. Some of us have had to be shielded our whole lives. So there's going to need to be a lot of forgiveness. And I'm sure, it's going to be a whole new little movement that you're going to see sparked off of this. Where there'll be rappers talking about Faraday, the Faraday law, Faraday caging, shielding, protection, the AI, us getting gamed, the 4th dimension, the holographic universe. When really all you have to do is just unplug, find the plug, or find what's powering this AI, which is just the internet, and shield it. It was actually not that hard. I was given the answer, by the way. Like I said, I'm not that smart. I've gotten so many hints. What people will come to realize too when this plays out, and I have to talk about the dreams or whatever. Like I said, I was getting hints almost my whole life. It was a complete unfair fight, you guys. I'm not gonna even lie. And when they see my little electromagnetic field, and they see my little programs on my stuff, they're gonna see I was hit with nothing but reversal stuff that they typically only put in guys. I barely realized. I'm like, oh. I was like, oh, this is why. I was like, a lot of women don't. I don't even know if a lot of women have this programming or this coding, because most women aren't into this type of stuff. But I was programmed with all of these reversal codes for stuff. I was like, what does that even got anything to do with me? I don't like nothing military. I don't like weapons or anything. I don't really know how to shoot a gun. Well, what I've come to find is you don't need to know how to shoot a gun. You just need to know about how light and sound moves. You can literally slice through somebody's neck with it. I'm like, ah! I went crazy. I went crazy so many times. I was like the equipment, the technology, I was like, I want it all gone. All gone. I was like, the people are being murdered, raped, tortured. Oh my God, with just sound and light. And I'm also well aware the way that I behaved was already expected by some of these dudes that did this. They're like, she's not gonna break. But I was actually, like I said, I was actually programmed to be like, no, no. Even in my stuff, that I was like, oh, I was like, why was I was seeing levels in a video game. And I'm like, oh, since for a while I've been getting hit with the thing, they're gonna try to game you, but you're not gonna get gamed because you're gonna reverse everything. Reverse everything. When I talk about this paging and stuff like that, I didn't even know what guerrilla warfare was. I was like, I had to look it up. I had to go ask Sage's dad about it. He's like, what are you talking about this and communism and whatever. I was like, well, I was actually channeled that through this hearing. Something about, I was like TD Vance. I had to look up who he was. And I was like, they said I'm highly likely to cause guerrilla warfare and reverse everything.
I don't want to do any, I just want people to be shielded. I was like, I just want people to be properly educated and shielded and protected for those of us that don't want to merge at the end of the day. And that if you're ever experiencing something like this, old, young, like have everybody properly checked and have everybody properly screened, have everybody properly shielded if they don't want to participate, so that their lives can go on. You know, I don't want anybody subject to this type of stuff. Everybody deserves their freedom, their justice, their rights, their liberation, stuff like that. And everybody deserves proper education, even if it's something simple. Like, because even just like a simple mathematical code for this fourth dimension, because it's very linear and everything's very mathematical and everything's very programmed. I was gonna figure it out. I was like, it's too programmable. Anybody, once you get the codes, anybody can do it. You can throw it on the software. When things are very linear like that, and everything's a mathematical equation, and you can go forward and backwards with it, it can be copied, replicated, and then placed on the software, and then everybody becomes aware of it. Well, eventually certain codes and stuff like that are going to have to be getting programmed into people, or if they do start getting programmed into people, may it be your antivirus or your shield or whatever. Oh, look really cool to manipulate water. Oh, one thing they can do is they can take the air and like have it shooting at you like it's an F4 tornado coming at you. Boom, boom, boom. When you're taking a shower, they can adjust the settings so that it's like really getting cut by razors with it. You can feel it. They got pain sensors in your head. It sounds very cool to learn how to do that. I didn't take the lesson, or I was like, okay, I'm aware you can do it. But as I said, the shield, because I'm like, it's almost like a test. Like they're like testing some of us to be like, which way will they swing? What will they do if they're offered everything? I want to cry and then I don't want to cry, but it's a very interesting act. You guys should read through it. And this is a long video. This is like such a random rant. I don't know how exactly this stalking game is that Mitchell Gibson and Kathy Gibson play, but we actually, as soon as we log onto our phones and like start recording or take a picture, they're instantly aware, like alerted, and then like they can come with their little monitors or invisible droids with this lower sound frequency hearing and the light beams or whatever. They can like come in and they start joining in on our pictures. So part of what this lady does is when we're taking pictures or when we're getting ready or when we're showering or anything like that, she starts like talking and like zinging and zapping us and trying to tell us what to say, what to like, pointing at what we need to wear. They're trying to play like a little sex game or whatever. And it's rather offensive because I can see how a lot of women have went to slide with this lady. I'm aware she's literally scissored all of Hollywood, and I'll get to shortly explaining that. But everybody has looked past it because she's a woman. She's an old, ugly woman, and because she's old and demented and psychotic, or a lady, I don't know what it is, but everybody kind of looks past what this disgusting woman has done. Most people aren't used to hearing a woman being a pedophile or a predator or evil or aggressive or any of that stuff. So that's where my barometer, my threshold is 0 with this lady. And I just want everybody to know I was never trying to be a brat or try to outsmart anybody. I just want my freedom back. In the process of me trying to get my freedom back, there's been a bajillion things that I have found that are not all the way good, because some people may have to come out as maybe not being all the way human, but I understand, either way. this is an actual issue that can be easily proven or resolved. Like right now, I was like, I'm aware whenever I get the right camera and stuff like that, which you guys will see, like she literally just kind of choked me or whatever. They're sending a signal to my vagus nerve to kind of like choke us, and she's like, she does stuff to us to make us use the bathroom on ourselves and throw up when we don't listen. It's our punishments. Like she's kind of doing it to me right now. Like right now I feel the urge to throw up, but it's not actually coming from me. It's coming from an internal signal. So we're getting, that's why in the document, if you read it, you'll read terms like our muscles spazzing, twitches and stuff like that, because we're actually being controlled. And with our Instagrams and our YouTubes and stuff like that, it's kind of easy to manipulate women who don't know much about technology. I was one of them. With our Instagrams, because they have our software, so they'll like blink things at us and have us click here, click there, and then we end up getting to like a website. It didn't really happen much with me or whatever like that. I was more on a little bit on the other side of it, but you can end up making anybody go to any website and, you know, like doing terrible things. So I just thought what she was doing was inhumane. And in the process of this, I started to wonder, well, how do you bust them if everybody's just going to call you crazy because everybody thinks telepathy is crazy or whatever, and that you're still being touched energetically or whatever. In the process of this, I started learning about the internet and the radio signals, and I'm like, in order to control a mind-controlling cult that's ran on a BCI, I'm just hypothesizing here, but basically it takes a lot of internet. Because you have to think it's not just me that they're sending this radio signal out and emitting this electric signal out to. He has a lot of people. From what I know, there's at least 250 in that solar gazing community, and it only extends from there. So if you're literally sending an electrical signal to us and using your sonar weaponry and your BCI board and everything like that, I'm aware it takes a lot of internet. So if I had the right tools to go measure the internet around his house, what we would find is that there's a lot more internet, and maybe even a different type of internet coming from his house versus everybody else's house. Along with if you, and that's just something simple. And I'm like, I can maybe even do it from the satellite when you log in and look at satellite pictures. So then that led me to believe that, oh, so if it's that easily detectable just by measuring our electromagnetic field and then measuring the internet and stuff like that coming from his house, then that led me to believe that this actually has been going on for a while, and it's actually something easily detected. But since this has been going on and they're using like these invisible droids, the droids aren't actually invisible, they're cloaked, to run this little game on us or whatever, then that leaves, like, if I prove that, then it leaves a door open for everything. Basically, all of you guys will be able to log on to these satellites or take pictures or look at old pictures. What you will find is when you're looking at somebody's house or zooming in on like a coordinate, you're going to be able to detect what type of internet they have coming from their house. If it's a bunch of internet, a certain like bandwidth, then they could be somebody who has one of these BCI boards like this man. And then what you will find is like a lot of the mostly people have the same type of like electromagnetic field around their house or the same internet or whatever like that, and then it's going to be easily detected, not only to find out who they're sending their radio signal out to interject our electromagnetic field, but also to find out who is actually using this internet for bad. So it's not that hard. It's really not that hard to determine. Well, when you think about like the police being involved and the FBI being involved, and like I said, this is actually there's actually a lot of people that are quite elite that are involved with him. Instead of just saying like, hey, let's just get rid of this woman, let's shut this down, whatever. This woman is so demented and so disgusting that she would literally rather bust everybody, because I'm like, if you bust this man, basically, you can go look at the internet coming from his house, the type of internet. You're going to find out it's a large amount. So either they're going to start scaling it down to where we're not getting interjected as harshly anymore from their radio frequency, or they're going to have to start detecting the sound coming from Mitchell and Kathy Gibson's house with their radio signals and stuff like that, because this is actually, like I said, it's military equipment. And what they'll find is an interception in our electromagnetic field, and you'll see the same interception not only in my electromagnetic field, but a lot of other girls. a lot of other girls and men, elite women, beautiful women. You may also see our electromagnetic field if you put us underneath the right camera. You can just take a picture of us, our Instagram pictures and stuff like that. What you will find is some of our colors actually match up, or there'll be like a spot. I'm assuming like a white spot in it, and that's kind of like, you can kind of see like, okay, it's interjected. I think that's an intercepted. I'm not sure all the way. Another thing that you may actually be able to see is some of us are actually shielded. They have to shield us because they take so much of our energy field. I'll get to that in a second. But some of us are shielded, and you may actually be able to detect it. So it's a bit rather embarrassing, even for myself, to find out that we have this shield that comes up and it comes down. So some of us have had this shield around us our whole life. So if you were to find a picture of some of these people and put them underneath the right camera, you know, it can be very hurtful for people to find out that they've actually, what I'm experiencing right now with them using the electromagnetic field to control me, the same thing will be around them, but even younger. And stuff like this has been happening for a while, and it hasn't been able to be stopped. So I didn't want to be part of what this woman has caused and created. I had absolutely no problem with anybody else. The only time I ever even say anything is when they're bothering me. I don't have any threshold for what this lady Kathy Gibson has created, having any sort of affiliation with her. I mean, if you really were to pull her mind file, which actually is a retrievable object from what I'm gathering and researching, these BCI boards, like if you were to take her mind file, what you guys would find is the horrible programs that she's programmed you guys with. They actually have a program for what they've done, and a coaching program for what she's done. And that's all that she's ever created with all of her technology and all of her magical powers. I was like, so basically, with everything that she's had, this boom boom room or whatever, at the end, that's it. It was rather repulsive for me, because I have not ever been tampered with. Well, let me take that back. I'm aware that I've had some special wiring done to me, but I was never, I don't know what you guys call them, getting wired. They always refer to them to me as getting wires. She's like, nobody has ever thought about deshielding. Nobody has ever thought about radio, so nobody ever thinks about radio signals and stuff like that. So it was just a little bit of a different thought. But what's really sad to me is that even with me knowing this and me knowing like all the stuff that I search is being followed, is if I get the right cameras and the right lighting and whatever, and you look at, actually all you need is a photo of someone to kind of dissect almost everything about them. You may be able to break down codes. You may be able to see if they've they've had this different barometric pressure field around them their whole life. If it's come up, if it's come down. The saddest part is that this was something that I don't know anything about being in the military. I don't know anything about telecommunications. If this wasn't going on, I'd be probably just sitting at home waiting for Stage's dad to come back, watching poodle videos with my kid, like teaching my kids stuff. I wouldn't be worried about any of this stuff. But so whoever designed this program, which I'm aware this man is one of his designers, along with other countries that have designed this whole program, this whole little sex thing, the metaverse, everything like that. The gaming that went on, you know, so as far as like getting us hooked onto the BCI board and then getting us hooked onto the metaverse, it wasn't done bulletproof. It was done extremely lenient. So it only takes one little crumble in your guys' infrastructure for the whole thing to fall. And a girl who doesn't know nothing about nothing, like I said, I don't even know how to change a tire. I'm hypothesizing that this is an easy way to bust all of that, which is rather embarrassing for the police, for the FBI, for anybody. Anyone who's been a part of this. You look at like bandwidth, internet, you can like look at pictures of their house. You can almost, if you're underneath the right camera, you can look at a person a certain way. With the setting, you'd be able to see their electromagnetic field. You would be able to, with these cool bionic eyes that they have or whatever that they're installing, you would be able to like zoom in on their vessels and stuff like that. You'd be able to do all kinds of stuff. But the shield, the internet, the electricity, the microwave ovens, when you really start learning about it and kind of seeing like what can detect it and kind of learning about what it is and looking at this as actual technology versus a mental disorder or witchcraft, there's so many barriers that are going to break down. And then when so many barriers break down, it's like, well, who are we going to blame? I don't really know who people blame, because I'm like, there's so much behind everything that I went ahead and like, have researched, that literally this woman who believes that she's invincible, that has literally, it's called gaming, by the way. All of us got gamed. I even got gamed. All of us have been gamed that have the BCI equipment from her. This has just been a bunch of levels that are never ending. They could have just given you guys all the answers up front and been like, now you guys can just build your own world, instead of being like, hey, you gotta do this to get to the next level or whatever. Or be like, you gotta beat this person up, whatever it is that they do. Nobody was really given a fair shot. So because you guys had them, they were kind of wiring you guys younger, they're the first ones that have done your settings, whatever. Versus where I was like, okay, I haven't always been in their dream world. So I was like, hey, I was completely thrown off. I was like, my whole radio signal was off. So, there's just like so many things that people are going to have to break down, because what people are going to uncover and uncover is a few of us have been programmed. And sometimes with these programs, everybody's going to want to blame everybody, because we as parents like to always know what's happening with our kids, X, Y, Z, X, Y, and Zada, whatever. And, that's just not the way that things went as far as like actual HIPAA laws and human pedicacy and stuff like that. So it just seems like a lot of things are gonna have, end up breaking down. Even the world's gonna be controlled by robots. I'm like, so if they have their Faraday cage shields, if we know how to block ourselves from certain radio signals and stuff like that, they can't really kind of blow us up or use the chip on us, or use this equipment, this really highly sophisticated equipment that I'm sure has been developed by some of the smartest men in the world. All we got to do is just shield ourselves and just be properly educated on light and sound and detect it in a photo or a video, and then they can no longer call us crazy or control. That man can't manipulate us in any way, shape, or form. It's been really sad. And then another thing that's hurtful for this community is this body of light thing. So in the spiritual community, you learn that big expansion of the light body is like a sign that, hey, we're doing great, we're advancing in our race, you're like a very highly spiritual person. Well, when you start researching about the electromagnetic field, which we know as our aura, what you will find is that somebody has a very low one. When people have a very low one, we're taught like, oh, your chi is down, whatever, but look at this spiritual master, theirs is all the way up. Well, what you don't know is that these spiritual masters, sometimes they're not all the way good, and what they're really doing is they're stealing the energy from your magnetic field. So even a smart detective, whoever it was, can actually go and look at pictures of Kathy and Mitchell and see that their electromagnetic field is very wide, while some of the followers that they follow is actually very low, because they're actually stealing their actual their life force to charge themselves up. What you will also realize is, and they do it all through energy, this electromagnetic field, but they do theirs mechanically, so meaning like we're connected to the BCI, and they can use a satellite and whatever. I'm not going to really get into that, but when this man comes and visits you in his angel form. It's basically a hologram. So when the man comes and his wife come and visit you in the actual hologram form, they're pressurized. So when the hologram enters our room or our house and it's pressurized and we get to feel everything, all they are doing is they had to put another barometric field pressure under you. So you can always wear a barometric field pressure checker and know, like, okay, he's near, because they're in here. The pressure in the room is changing, even if they're invisible because they're cloaked. And then you can also check the EMF coming from your phone, your laptop, your TV, your computer, your microwave, or whatever like that. It's like documented, because he may also come as an invisible form. He's not really invisible. He's just he's using that cloak thing, and then he's using the body of light. Well, he's not using the body of light, but he's using electricity, and then he's also pressurizing himself. It's just very advanced technology. We don't even need to get into like how deep scientifically, like how everything even works. You don't need to be no physicist. All you just need to be able to do is just detect it, and also be able possibly to be able to pick him up in a picture. But we are taught that the bigger the body of light is, the more holy and spiritual he is. Well, what you guys are going to come to find is that that was actually a lie, at least for them, because they're actually harvesting light. So that's why their fields are so big and yours is so low. They purposely do things to you guys in this community. He's a mastermind manipulator to make you guys think that you guys still need him. You guys don't really need him. What you guys probably need is somebody better and smarter and nicer behind your guys' boards. Nobody should ever be getting a punishment. You guys should be treated like humans, like everybody else. No one should even be allowed to even touch you one little zing to your toe without your permission. And you guys being fully aware, even with the dreaming stuff, I'll get to that another day, but the dreaming stuff, everybody should have the right to how their dreams are going to go. Nobody should have to do anything with Kathy Gibson. She doesn't have the right to touch you. She doesn't have the right to beam light at you. She doesn't have the right to even be in your electromagnetic field sending a deadly signal. It's called the electronic torture. So, you know, we're all just barely learning these words, and the whole internet thing, like if you were to internet map everybody's houses out, their properties, their locations, even like I said, their own personal electromagnetic field, it's not going to be very hard to tell which one of us are actually wired to this BCI machine. That the internet is coming from this man's house. He's emitting a lot. The radio signal is picking up from his house, and it's been beamed at. So it's actually rather disturbing to find out that the police have chose to ignore a lot of very obvious signs, along with healthcare workers and stuff like that. When you start showing them, like, hey, all my EMF fields are in this deadly range, I'm getting electrocuted. Whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop. So I don't really know, you know, so when I say he's not getting busted or anything like that, sometimes I just think there's a lot, because there's so much, I don't even think that they have anybody to really take over all the BCI boards that this man has. There's not another healthcare provider. I don't even know if anybody else would do it. Any of the doctors who have been behind the scenes doing this or went overseas to go grab the equipment, because I realize now a lot of it is partnered with China with where they buy their stuff, or Asia or whatever, I'm not really sure, but wherever they get it, could be Africa, could be anywhere. They're doing a lot of this stuff illegally overseas, and they're not really getting charged for it because they're overseas and they're using Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connection, and you can log in anywhere, but they can be detected. I'm almost positive these guys can be detected. It is a real rape. It is a real assault, even a physical assault, like the boom, like when they punch us, all of that stuff. So it makes me very sad that if people would have been properly educated first about what this is, or just had like another maybe variant in their head on what this could have possibly have been, then this could have been exploited a long time ago. And nobody wants to have sex with Kathy. I don't care. I'm like, I don't care what she's offered you. She describes it as pleasurement. She describes it as they're cheated, they're just, she's connected to the BCI board. She's just another variant, and she's also, this is her program. I don't even want to get into description, but it's her program. So she's like, she never stops. She just uses another phrase or another word because she's connected to the thesaurus. And then she starts saying that again for 2 weeks. She can turn the sound up and she can turn the sound down. Why this should be highly illegal also is because there's no barrier limit. So he's allowed to turn this radio signal very high in your guys' head and also very low. They call it lowering the voice. Also the settings when you guys are punched and burned and set on fire and choked. I'm aware she can just do it very subtly. She calls it being undetectable. Well, it is still very detectable. We just have to detect it another way. Like I said, there's always going to be a being coming at you guys. They're not allowed to control you, and you're not allowed to have any sort of punishments. Everybody is a human being, or however you identify, but there should be equal rights for everybody. I feel very cheesy because I was offered almost everything because they were highly aware I was going to be able to, once they got me all back right, I was going to be able to crack a lot of this fairly easily. And I don't even know anything about anything. I don't even like to read about war. I can't even tell you nothing. And then part of my threat was, well, they're going to find out that you've always been a little bit, you've always had a little bit of programming. Well, now that I'm aware, it's fine. So we've all had a little bit of help. I don't know. But, it's actually rather funny. But I am aware, and I know it's going to be very hard for people, like if you look into this electromagnetic field thing and really study through that document, to find that our race is actually not the actual pure race. I'm not a pure human. When you start looking into like the DNA, once you start learning about this BCI board, and there's actually people walking around that are 100% pure. And yeah, it's a whole thing. Everything is a whole thing. The internet, the BCI board, some people may actually already be on a BCI board and you never even knew. But starting with the EMF fields and looking at electromagnetic fields and really dissecting the aura of a human, getting you underneath the right light, measuring the EMF fields, literally like satellite mapping internet connections at people's houses. I was like, they're going to end a lot of the digital sex trafficking that's going on right now. They honestly probably could even map it back out to this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. And I'm not that smart. Like I said, I've gotten lots of hints. I got a lot of hints. Yeah. But the internet thing, I just keep on waiting. I'm like, so is somebody just going to bust it with the internet? Like, maybe I'll just go measure the stuff at his house. But since there's so many people involved, law enforcement, this high-tech equipment, nobody's just looking at the easy way to just get this done, because they have to look at all the repercussions and be like, okay, well, if we do this, then what? If we do this, then what? What you also will find, like I said, there's some of us that have thought that we were free and that we were granted the world, but really we were enslaved and chained, and never really even given the chance to thrive the way that we should have been able to thrive without this radio signal from this woman. And that actually some of the women that are the most beautiful and the most famous and the most rich are underneath the most amount of pressure that you guys can ever even imagine. Like I said, this is a very big thing, me exposing this woman, Kathy, because on this BCI board, she actually has our the neural codes, the ECGs and the EEGs, all that stuff for our children, and they're programmed into her BCI board, and I'll just leave that right there. So when I say this is a big leap of faith, and there's a lot of things involved, and whatever, and I have mad respect for people that have had this on much longer than me, I honestly do. And I was like, you know, but that woman can't be the one with our kids' stuff. I'm like, I would rather die. I never want to be anything like that woman. I never wanted to take her spot, never. I never wanted to be with that man. I have been given my rights. I'm even aware that there may be claims that I'm brainwashed. In a sense, I'm not, but I'm not. As I have had my freedom. I've lived my life. I'm almost 40 years old. I've never been tampered with. And the girls that are coming out of this will know I've never been like, my neurosensory has never been on, so I was never tampered with. So no, I was never brainwashed. I'm not brainwashed. Nobody's brainwashing me. I was never beat. I was never hit. I never got a punishment. Even as a kid, I was like, as far as I can, I was like, no. So that's why, and I was like, and I'm aware also that if we are removed from the person, whoever did like our original wiring, we get really thrown off. So you'll hear, I was like, I see, you know, like where people can think that we're brainwashed, but it's not that. It's about like, oh, well, we were already tuned to this frequency, so anything else kind of will throw us off. But what you'll find is like a few of us are really in tune to a lot of frequencies, and all those radio signals require more pressure. Excuse me. Like, all I'm saying is there's a lot of women that are actually, and men that are actually under a lot of pressure, mentally, also physically, spiritually, and they've never even been, they've never had the chance to like really excel, and they've been threatened in ways that you guys can't even imagine. Like I said, this woman that is controlling people and using electric torture, sonar weaponry, a BCI board, lies, disguising herself as a spiritual master and all that, and has this high-end dream college that we can go to. Never really pushed you guys to excel the way that you guys should have in your movement forward in designing a superior race and all of that stuff, and a new world in the metaverse or multiverse, however you guys word it, on the planets, whatever. You like it, the foundation, because of how she was in her program, it just wasn't sturdy, and I was like I just wanted to be absolutely nothing like that. I'll leave that right there. And I was, you guys see, I was very willing on my own accord to be like, hey, I'll accept absolutely nothing. I won't accept any money, I won't accept fame, I won't accept nothing. And I'm totally fine, and I'd walk away and would never say anything, and I would have just gone out and been trying to like learn how to block the signal, whatever, give out my little flyers and then go. But so it was never about any of that. I was like, yeah, you guys have had it 10 times harder. And sometimes everybody's like, well, a woman has to control a woman or have the codes. I understand that theory. I'm aware that things have changed in that manner, but not every woman, if they've been tortured by this lady, might not have the same barometer or threshold that I have when it comes to some of this stuff. So I didn't have this threshold, and I nor was I. So I just think this is a way easy thing to solve. We can easily get past it, and this couple can easily get arrested, and there can be proper mental care, health care, even for your guys' body. And honestly, probably by a new set of doctors that are maybe even just learning about this stuff, because they'll come in with a whole different fresh set of eyes and be like, okay, this is how we pick this up, this is how we do this is how we do this is how we detect this. Well, they'll probably build something a lot better and safer for everybody. That I can almost promise. I've had wonderful mentors and stuff like that in my entire life. Not everything has been like this. So I was like, and I know like there's a lot of people that are really into the AI and stuff like that. And once they're like, oh, you know, I really think that once, however this is going to roll out, it will be just fine. It will be just fine. The internet thing, you guys, I think it's the easiest thing to catch. I don't want to be far on Kathy Gibson anymore. I can't wait until she stops. I have to make a very sweet video because I haven't had the chance to make it yet. But I get some messages obviously channeled to me, especially over, you guys all know who. I've never partnered with Kathy and Mitchell Gibson. I would do no such thing. You guys look, I don't mean to be rude, but like imbeciles.
ever saying his work is magic. This Tantra stuff is disgusting. She's been raping me all day because basically she's just pissed that she's not needed. She wants me to say that this sex is great. It's disgusting. It's just radiation to the vagina. She's been doing a lot of the choking and the head thumping. She's like, I lowered the settings, but no. A lot of pressure to the throat and ears and vagina and asshole. Oh my God, she's been sodomizing me all fucking day. But basically just saying that she's pissed that they lost all their partners. Basically, I would never ghostwrite for them because I was so disgusted by what they do. I'm disgusted by her children. I'm disgusted by Alonzo and Kair, all of them. And all of the women who have never said anything. I don't really know if everybody really knew. Because I know like they like to hologram in and disguise as different people, and they use a lot of voiceovers. This shit is fucking stupid, but I mean, they can get anybody's voice off of listening to their phones and stuff like that. So they steal a lot of voiceovers and they mess with your guys' heads. All day long, she'll use Billy Carson's voice. I'm going to start telling the truth about the whole thing. This is really a lot of it has to deal with between him and Billy Carson, and everybody's seen what a loser this guy Mitchell Gibson and his wife are. And she's like, you don't think his whole audience felt goated and they were throwing jabs? I was like, I honestly really don't know. I was like, did they really believe you had magic? And I guess people did. I was like, what the fuck? Sage, get over here. So she's been doing a lot of the rape. She wants me to cover up. She wants me to chair this at like one of those BCI boards or whatever like that. Do you want your blanket or your towels?
I want to go to the water.
Okay, it's cold. You're cold.
I'm not cold.
Yes, you are.
No.
So a lot of you girls have been practicing that Tantra. It's rather disgusting what they do with that overlay, with the metaverse overlay, with all the choking. Like, she likes to do a lot of choking. All of the jinns and spirits and that dreams you guys have all been her disguise. And Mitchell Gibson watching, getting the rocks off. They want to say that this was supposed to be like the upgraded sex. It was rather disgusting. They wanted me to push it forward because I'm a women's health nurse and be on like one of those BCI boards, like combine the two and like promote her disgusting ass product. While she coached me on the video game, I'm like, I can just go grab this stuff and make it myself. It didn't make any sense to me. It was actually rather pathetic. It was poorly put together. And this stuff that they do with this whole BCI rape, it literally feels like a robot. So don't even waste your time. They just magnetize your blood, like throw your blood to your vagina trying to turn you on. She likes to electrocute your feet. She literally will watch me, force me to masturbate while I'm watching Billy Carson and while she's saying there's jealousy. Basically wishing that she was with him, that her son didn't look like a fucking idiot, following her husband's dumb shit. I'm very over it, as you can tell. It's been 2 years. I try to be nice. I was actually nice. But I'm not anymore. Because I'm like, once I get the stuff and I pick up this radio field, I'm like, bitch, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, they can't do anything. And she's like, my whole company feels destroyed, not my fucking problem. So basically her whole stuff that they did is pointless. It's useless. It's cancerous. It's an overlay. It's retarded. It feels like a game. And if any of you boys are going to buy in on that, I would highly recommend that you don't. Because it's only going to take one girl to be like, hey, he put the settings up too high and he raped me, he caused me to bleed, you guys know nothing about any of that stuff. I would stay highly away from that, putting radiation in female vaginas and stuff like that. It's just not even going to be worth it in the long run. They'll probably call you for murder if their kids come out, have a miscarriage, mentally retarded, anything like that. I don't have to say mentally retarded, but any sort of cognitive disorder. They'll blame me for it from this thing. I wouldn't do it. A little warning for all of you. The pressurizing the field, she's like, he wants you pressured. Might I add, she's not anything. So any of you guys that are a part of this, you will likely, by the time I get through with this, be very highly likely to be sued or put in prison. I'll trace on your radio field. I'll look up the BCI, see what internet it causes, who bought what, where, which one is what electric return, what radio field, trace it back. I got a lot of time. I'm not going to tolerate any of this. Even that sound, I was like the magnetizing. I'm aware. I'm like, once you get the right things, it's all going to pick up. It's really pathetic. She's going to cause cancer. even when they put the penis inside of the vagina, like that stupid ass feeling that she gets to pressurize the inside of our vagina, even our neck, it causes crepitus in the neck. So, like if you were to press my neck, they shoot the air in through the spacious juice down, and it gets down into your neck. But you actually have crepitus. The crepitus in your neck, literally from the deep throaty shit she makes us do, and the insertion in the vagina. Like if you put it down, you'll feel cracking in your throat. If you open your legs, you put your own finger on your vagina. If you've been doing this a lot and it's called operating, and they've ever operated you, you'll feel crepitus inside the walls of your vagina. I'm pretty sure, but I haven't stuck my hand in mine because they don't really do it a lot. They mostly just do like some pressure, but they don't really do that leaning thing. You know, she's like, they're like making you with this shit. It's fucking gay, bro. I was like, yo, this lady is sitting on her fucking GR gate all fucking day following you guys. And I was like, and what's sad is she didn't even tell her own daughter. Her daughter was a mess. And she's talking about polish, so I can look ugly. She's like, her daughter is very jealous because nobody ever offered her or something. I honestly really don't know. I guess the other girls who did this that were part of her crew, maybe they got like $3,000 to have to get their assholes rammed in by this motherfucker. The electrical feeling or whatever that they do to the rectum. I was supposed to be saying nice stuff. I'm not. I'm kind of really over it. I'm just going to expose everything at this point. I don't know stuff. So she's basically forced people to call her mother, forced people to enjoy the sex, forced all of this stuff. And then if you ever think about Tybro, they do some crazy shit too. She said she hell dolls a lot of people. Everybody got hell dolls. They got head lice. They were repeatedly raped until they do it. You're actually forced with the imaging that they send. They hook that BCI up probably to some porn or shit. The fucking ugly ass creep likes to come into your mind disguised as a fucking 4-year-old, like running around as some little black kid and his behind all out and shit, some little black boy. It's really disgusting. And then they force you to have sex that way. Like it's so disgusting in a fucking dream. It's fucking pathetic. The whole Tantra stuff that you guys do is a complete scam. The electricity that they use, I'm aware. I was like, this is from the Wi-Fi routers, the phones. They're just magnetizing the field and that bubble that they got everybody under with that VR set. It won't be long until I decode it. They already know. They're like, we already know where you're heading. They're like, you're going to start gathering up people, testing it yourself, and then they're going to have to pay attention. I was like, she's going to go to prison. She already told me. She's like, they already got me. They're auditing. So, yeah, it's really pathetic. Her children are probably going to go to prison. I'm aware if you were her daughter's friend or her son's friend, they probably put this dream shit on you and raped you in the dream. And then they probably went running to you like, oh yeah, my parents know all about this. And then they pretended to be the good guys to keep you guys coming back. So if you've ever felt that static electricity massage in the head, or your body vibrating when you wake up, the drilling in your head, the things you guys call downloads, they need to be sued and press charges for all of that. They're like speeding up your cell rate. They're doing all kinds of stuff, heating your body up. Nobody's body should be vibrating like that. I'll get to that another day. It's radiation. Oh God, but the fucking sex. Yeah, so then, like how pathetic that they are. I was like, if I break everything down, it's just going to be humiliating. It's actually really ghetto. Sometimes I just crack up. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? They use like magnets and stuff. I was like, they're sitting here putting a whole bunch of stuff together in one thing. It's just a mess. It's really pathetic. Her kids look like losers. I don't mean to be a bitch anymore, but I was like, they're still sitting there talking about magic. And she's like, they lost all their sponsoring. And I was like, what the hell that got to do with me? I said, no, 2 years ago. And they're like, we thought you were going to partner with Beyonce. No. She thought turning down the sound and turning down the settings. This shit is so pathetic. She's like, what do they call it? They call it being, I'm undetectable. Like she got her superpowers all the way turned on. And I'm like, what the fuck, bro? You just turned the sound down. Fuck around me. And I was like, you can just amplify the sound. Are you fucking stupid? And then she says, she's like, I was like, can you believe she keeps saying, want you polishing? But you think I want that look like that ugly old bitch? And then I was like, her husband ugly as fuck. I was like, you can't be a fucking saying you're a god, bro, and you fucking look like somebody. You look like a fucking Chester the Molester. You look like he's supposed to be driving around in a goddamn ice cream truck in one of them Astro vans. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's how they pulling up. Like, I was like, I'd rather be Big Worm, bro. But it's fucking pathetic. I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, I can only imagine how bad my fucking friends are gonna laugh their asses off when they replay all the fucking shit that ugly old bitch was saying from her radio. Not only just for me, but for everybody. I was like, she literally digs through shit. I was like, I can't wait to show y'all my vagina and the lights, the beams going around it. And I was like, she be digging through dookie, bro. The bitch disgusting as fuck. I was like, also that her game could make it to the fucking metaverse. I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, we wanted to space race. They wanted to have a name. I don't really know everything. All I know is it's a mess. And her kids thought that I was gonna do the lawsuit with Beyonce. I was like, for the millionth fucking time, don't y'all ever say I'm gonna be. I didn't partner with nobody. You guys see, I do not say anything except for about one man, and that's the only one that I am going to listen to. So y'all could get all that shit off the plate. I do not partner, I do not polish for Kathy Gibson. The bitch gets on my fucking nerves. She's a fucking pedophile. She's a fucking weird ass fucking cyborg creep. Oh my god, she follows kids around naked with this fucking shit. Pretends that she's their mother. She pretends that these sexual feelings she's giving you are like endless orgasmic spaces. No, they're radiation to your fucking pussy. And even this whole the fucking pressurized field making you guys simulate a penis being in there with the BCI board. Even all the disgusting items that she uses to put in your guys' vaginas. She's not a nurse. She has no right to be heating your body up in any sort of way, shape, or form. It's not supervised. It's cancerous. It can make it smell really bad. BV. Also, she has no medical knowledge whatsoever. And she's sitting here playing with your guys' genitals. I was like, you guys are basically being experimented on by their BCI board. And they're trying to see like which one is going to do what. So I guess because what they've told me, I can't confirm or not, but I guess from whatever happened when I was a kid or whatever, I don't really know. I guess the wiring or something like that. My vagina is a little bit different. I can't say for sure. It's rather embarrassing. But they use copper wiring on their BCI board. You guys should all know that. That's how cheap they thought all of you guys were. So mine wasn't they said mine was gold. He's not my master. He's not anybody. They're just an overlay. They're just somebody trying to get a name for themselves. They know no magic. They're complete frauds. Their family is complete frauds. This wiring that they do to you, the Wi-Fi that they use for this Tantra, the BCI board is actually copper. And that's how low that they thought of you guys. The current, the electrical current or whatever that they're using, from what I've been told, it's radiation, 5G. It's stuff that comes from your cell phone and your Wi-Fi routers, things that are all poisonous for your body. That's why they're able to turn it up so high when they start pressurizing that field and making you suck a dick and putting all that stuff in your vagina and your rectum. You know, she likes to sodomize a lot. And she's like, it's okay if I turn down the settings and I try not to make it so painful. No, it's all rape. It is all rape, it's all molestation, it's all sexual assault, it's all stalking, it is all harassment. Everybody needs to report her to the North Carolina police, or you need to report her to your Homeland Security, your Attorney General of your state. There's also a Navy site that I'll be posting. Her and Mitchell Gibson both need to go to prison. If her daughter and her son are still promoting any of this, you need to report them as well. If Alonzo and Kair are still doing this, they need to report it to the authorities as well. I've been told about a lot of rape and stomping out in the dreams and shit that they've done. I can't say for sure if it's true, and honestly, I don't know if they're still doing it or not. And honestly, with how threatening she is, she's literally had me choked on the floor, can't breathe, whatever, head spinning. My tolerance is 0. Like my Brahmini, I'm like, bitch, don't even zap my fucking toe, you ugly old rat. And basically, they're like, we just wanted somebody attractive. So they've basically said that they don't think that their own children are attractive enough to carry this on. Or smart enough. They think everybody's dumb because they've taught you guys magic instead of technology. They didn't give you guys a proper education. That's how low she thought of you guys. I'm like, they offered me $1 billion to stay quiet and keep this program going. I said no. They have offered me almost everything to keep my mouth shut. It was a no. It was a no. I'd rather be a revolutionarist, make inventions, get this all cleaned up and done with, make laws. And she's never passed a law in her life. So they could have been stalking or figuring out all this stuff for people a long time ago. Instead, they chose to play the game. They chose to play the game. They chose to make pedophiles. She said her whole audience, if you have ever bought anything from her store, her entire audience has pedophiles. She's like, they pedophile for this stuff. I was like, why the fuck would I pedophile for it? I was like, bitch, you ain't got nothing I don't already know. A lot of that information these days can be found online. So why would I